Pro. So roll, never fold. So roll, never fold. So roll, never fold.
Raise it up. Raise it up.
Chat Pro.
Welcome, Chat Pros. It's Max Payne Monday, and we have one of my favorite guests, Lynne. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we got about 55 minutes to shoot the shit, and there's a lot going on in the Pokerverse right now. It just feels everyone's divided. There's Team Airball, there's Team Berkey. Some people are still Team Garrett, Team Ravreby. You know, what's going on? We were just talking about how the Twitter space has gotten quite toxic in the poker community, something that is kind of new.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to own up. Like, I'm sure I'm adding to it. I literally texted Billy last night, like, hey, I think I have a problem. I need to go to rehab for just how often I go off on Twitter and just go to war with everyone. But yeah, there's a whole lot of teams going on.
There's a whole lot of teams going on, and I mean, it was never like this a few years ago, right? It's almost, I mean, you can feel. Yet at the same time, we were talking about how Airball's doing a great job publicizing himself. Yeah. It's almost like WWE wrestling or something, right? They're having these arguments, sure, it's a real beef, but the fans are enjoying it, right? It's fun too.
It's interesting for sure, and I think the reason we have so many teams is because it's much more fun to be on a team than to be in the middle and fence setting.
No, I agree, and I'm Team Airball all the way. By the way, hashtag stand with Airball. I stand with Airball, and I believe in what he's doing. And but when it comes down to it, playing heads up in the format that they're playing, the variance is going to be huge. Right?
Yeah, I mean, they had a 400K swing on day one, so.
And you're close with Airball. You don't have to give us any necessarily inside baseball here, but just broad strokes. How are you feeling about this? What is the situation like on that side?
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to be very honest as opposed to rah Airball. I definitely believe in him, and I would expect him to improve faster than Berkey over the course of this match. Do I think he's going in winning? Not sure, but honestly, probably not. The guy's just not playing much heads up, and we can say what we want about Berkey, but he's almost certainly had more experience in this realm than Nick. So I think it's going to be interesting, just kind of seeing how they handle variance. I think heads up is truly a mental game. So
it is. Have you played much heads up?
No. Easily under 100 hours lifetime.
And it's usually just at the end of the game, someone wants to stay. Okay, you're stuck. I'm gonna be nice and stay with you and play.
It's always I'm the one that's stuck.
Okay, sorry.
To clarify.
Okay, we're playing. Yeah.
Yeah, I was sitting with some of my friends at dinner, and I realized I begged one of them or another at some point in the past 2 years to stay at 5 a.m. because I was just stuck infinite.
Yeah. And those games are different too, because it's different when and that's I think for most poker players, the experience you have playing heads up is when it's 4 a.m. 3 a.m. in the morning, whatever it is, the game is kind of busting down, but there's another guy who wants to play. Maybe both of you guys have been playing for 8 hours. But it's okay, you're stuck or I'm stuck. Well, whoever's stuck, the other one's going to stay to give them a chance to win it back. And it's very different because you're not no one's necessarily playing good poker. It's just kind of an ongoing puzzle. You guys have been sitting together for the last 8 hours, and now you're going to figure out this very unique 4 a.m. situation. That's a lot different than coming fresh, being I'm going to play heads up poker with you. And honestly, the thing that I think a lot of people are neglecting also is that ante in the game, right? That's huge. I mean, 200, 400, 400 ante. So there's $1,000 in the pot to start. I mean, it's almost like they're playing 300, 600.
Yeah.
And it just drives the action so much. You should be raising so many hands. Is Airball actively planning strategies at the moment? I mean, what is?
So I'm not really sure, right? I'm not a coach. I can't speak a ton about strategy, but I will just say in the week leading up to this match or whatever, I I've always thought that like my best attribute is my network, and I just like asked around to see like who had like anti-ranges for deep heads up, and no one had anti-ranges. So like I think that in itself says a lot. Like every time I've ever played heads up, pretty much like we've played without an anti, and like I can DM or like message any one of like a few dozen friends like, hey, like I'm playing this, send me charts, please.
Right.
Like, but.
Right, and
yeah,
I think
weird.
but that's
it's
part
really
of
weird.
I think what is so intriguing about this matchup is that it feels like the Wild West. Both, you know, no matter what either of them say, neither of them are super experienced in this format. It's figuring out this puzzle and kind of the mental battle of who's going to get better in this short period of time, right? I'm sure Airball's actively learning different things. Berkey's very open. He was talking about on his podcast about how for the last week he'd been studying charts and yada, 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 but...
I will say, hot take time.
Hot take, please.
Like, I think Nick's going to be a fair bit more malleable. And, like, Berkey could very well go out and prove me wrong. I just think it's going to be easier for Nick to, let's say, like, not blast than it is for Berkey to break, like, through his, like, 2-decade-long habit of, like, stationing people off. So...
It's interesting.
Here's hoping.
They have like contrapuntal habits there. Nick needs to avoid blasting off, and Matt needs to avoid calling off. Right? It's like a.
Well, if Nick can't stop blasting off, Berkey does not need to avoid calling off.
Yeah.
So like that ace king hand was like pretty gnarly. It was like ace king versus jacks on king queen jack. Like this man's stuck in infinite big blinds with top pair and a gutter. Like I don't know. Like,
yeah, and then
nice
they
to
ran
hit.
it one time and it came a 10. And I mean,
yeah, I think it's rigged.
I mean, I can't imagine how tilting that is. And then, but the fact that Airball battled back, it does show that I mean, you know, he has a very strong mental fortitude, and I believe that he will figure out the puzzle and just like you said, change faster than Berkey. No matter what you guys say, I mean, okay, one thing's clear. Let's say that this match took place 5 years ago. Okay, 5 years ago, Matt Berkey 5 years ago versus Airball 5 years ago. I don't think anyone's picking Airball, right? He's probably was just starting his poker career at that time, right?
Like,
He was nobody.
Yeah, Airball might not have been playing poker.
He might not have been playing poker.
Yeah, for sure.
A few years ago even, probably the same thing.
Yeah.
But yet, something has happened in the last year with Airball's kind of meteoric rise. And I don't know, it feels like you have, in the UFC sometimes, you have these fighters that kind of come out of nowhere and they just start winning. And they can't, and the whole crowd gets behind it. It feels kind of like that. And it would just be so cool to see Airball just wreck Berkey. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but boy.
More than that, like I think something we've also seen a little bit in poker is like you see like these kids and like their like meteoric rises. And like, yeah, like, are they running unbelievably hot? Sure, but then at the same time, like, I think most people play better when they're running good and like just like playing with more confidence. So from everything I can see, like Nick's mental game seems like really strong. And like Berkey definitely has his moments of like pettiness and tilt. Like once upon a time, we were like playing like pretty small. I think it was like 5-10 or whatever, and we had plans like for later just to hang out with like some friends and whatnot. And he like refused to leave that game because we had cross-booked like 1x on 5-10, and he was stuck like 4 figures. Like that to me is like pretty silly, and it's also indicative that like maybe there's a day that like that Berkey runs bad and he's stuck a few hundred and he doesn't want to quit even though he's down. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to come down to kind of just who has a stronger mental.
The fun place though has been Twitter, and it really it feels like, you know, there's a lot of these you know, ESPN sports reporters guys who, you know, there's the baseball guy who always, oh, you know, we have a new thing, you know, this guy's signing with the Braves or something this, and it feels like the poker community is waiting for our kind of sideline reporters to give us these updates, and that, I think that part is actually really fun, right? You get the Landon update or you get the Ishan update.
Yeah, I love it.
They're playing again today, right?
Yeah, they are.
This is day 3.
Yeah, they'll be a few hours into this by the time the viewers are watching us.
They
now,
will be.
so.
What time are they starting?
Yeah. They've been starting at 2 every day. I think they started late yesterday, but yeah.
Interesting. Berkey was complaining about Airball taking the breaks, and obviously these secret meetings.
You can't have like a bathroom quickie. Like what's going on?
Oh, can't have a bathroom quickie at the casino. What is the deal with that?
Real quick, a shout out to Gazzy B, who's somewhere behind us. I don't know if the cameras can actually zoom in on him, but I think he made one of like the top-notch comments about how like can't a man just do a few lines without having like the entire Twitter scrutinizing him for it.
Yeah, no, but I mean it really is interesting because also, as they're saying this and they're complaining about these secret meetings and I can speak to this, and maybe you can too, especially, there's been times where I've been in big spots in tournaments, and the tournament will go on break, and I'm in the bathroom, and suddenly I'm meeting with like 4 friends, and the queen 6-hand and suited, and this,
sure.
and it's too much information. You're not gonna like really utilize the bathroom information, even if you were exchanging information, right? It's like a lot all at once. The strategies are kind of already set. Like,
I would
what
imagine
is he afraid of?
They're just like, talking, like literally to talk.
Right.
I think Nick and Berkey are pretty different just in terms of like maybe how social they are. So yeah, I think Nick's just like a very like extroverted dude who likes hitting pull up, talking about the hands he's played.
You know what bothers me the most about Berkey for some reason? This might sound silly, but actually it's not. It's just one thing that bothers me about him. There's many things, but his posture for some reason, that like really straight posture, I can't get down with that.
The man's like a human erection. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. It's just like
it's a little creepy.
It is. It's very active too. I mean, he's very. I'm sure his spine is in great shape.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
We're all
killer back muscles.
killer back
I don't know
muscles.
what to tell you, but-
Yeah, I have the worst posture. When I sit at my computer, I would just be there all day,
me too.
like the guy.
Like my standard position is like
Yeah.
one shoulder, like leaning on one knee. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And posture at a poker table is really important, though, and I think, it is. It would just be so interesting to see even just little bits of their match streamed. I understand why Berkey is afraid of that. I also understand why Airball would want that to happen, but yet...
Yeah, Nick's a showman.
He's a showman, exactly. And he is also the nicest guy. I know we always say this a lot, and, we obviously are friends with him, and we have a very high opinion of him, but it is an act, right? The Airball act.
Yeah.
I remember the day when I was with Billy and Nick, and we came up with the name Nick Airball. Right before that, he was just Nick A.
Airball's much better. You guys are
Absolutely. And I was like, we need to give you a name. You need to have a name for the stream. And Billy came up with it instantly. It was like, how about Nick Airball? They were like, oh. And
Billy is a creative genius.
He really is. And I think, you could see that moment in his eyes, in Airball's eyes, in Nick's eyes, when he, Nick Airball. It was like an origin story for a superhero or something. And then he became Nick Airball, and he really just kind of leaned into it. He understood that, in the very beginning especially, he was playing politics to get on the show, right? Every time he'd say, Ryan, I want to get on the show, and this day, and I'd say, I don't have a spot for you this week, maybe next week, if da-da-da-da. And then he started to realize that if he kind of leaned into the Airball persona, he's going to get more time on the show, and that's more profit for him, it's more notoriety, and I just think he's played his cards really well.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think it's especially interesting to me just kind of seeing the different paths the two have taken.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, probably as a result of their initial experiences in poker.
Mm-hmm.
I think Berkey saw a profitable avenue to create a trading site, but I also think credit where it's due. I think he wanted to genuinely do something good. And I know not everyone's the biggest fan of Solve for Why, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's anything wrong with the product.
No, I agree. I've seen their product. I've used their product many years ago. Mm-hmm. It's a solid product, right? It teaches you how to think about poker. It teaches you how to think about poker slightly differently, right? That's kind of their whole take, is to look at it like a puzzle and like really not just understand that this is the chart and this is what we're doing, but to understand why, right? That is the basis, and also the mental game. It covers all bases. It's a great training site. Nick calling Berkey a fraud and a scammer is really what like pushed this to that level, right? Because I know that hurt Berkey.
Yeah, I'll go out and say that like I think I feel a little bit bad about like maybe some of the things that I've said, and like perhaps I haven't like painted Berkey in the best light. I think at the end of the day, like I believe he's a good human. I don't think he's a scammer or a fraud. And at the same time, I'm going to stand by the fact that like if you're going to like step up to challenges or whatever, like I think it's pretty important to like back it up. So I think it's going to be really interesting in seeing like and finding out like how good is he really. Because at the end of the day, like if Nick wins like $1 million off Berkey and Berkey quits, I don't think there's going to be much to be said. Like even if like Doug, Jungle Man, anyone like coached him, like
it doesn't matter. No, at the end of the day,
the amateur wins.
The amateur wins. In a sense, they took a little flack for this on their podcast a few days ago. They talked about how it's a negative free roll for Berkey because, if he wins, everyone's like saying, oh, well, of course, he's the pro, he's supposed to win. But if he loses, it's like, his whole coaching business could go, it's not necessarily, a negative free roll I don't think is the right term, but I do see what they're saying, where it's, in a sense.
So OnlyFriends, they were saying this on the OnlyFriends.
They were saying this on the OnlyFriends podcast.
I mean, I think I think maybe they're right, but then like maybe the takeaway is then like, well, why engage in the first place, right? Like, because like, I'll be honest, like I saw like Landon do something similar where he managed to make a bet where he was giving a very sharp businessman a massive handicap without his own money and then not even like seriously prepping for it. Like that to me is bonkers. Like similar to, I feel like it's been a few days so I can say this, like it's pretty crazy to me that in the 2 days leading up to the match, both Nick and Berkey were just sitting there playing full rig. Like these guys agreed to a heads up challenge. Go like fucking play heads up,
Yeah, no. It is. It's insanity. And, the fact that both of them were confident enough to sit in that game, I think, said a lot. And it was like kind of a, the pregame show. It was the warm up. That video of Nick pushing Berkey. It was one of the most viral poker videos on Twitter ever. I mean,
I love that.
Me too.
Good job, Marcus. Way to get that down on camera.
Yeah, that was cool.
But yeah, it's definitely like a little bit of a gnarly situation, and I think like I personally have. Like, I feel like I've gotten their mind or like, okay, like maybe take a step back from Twitter. Maybe like think before I start just like letting my thumbs fly. No,
big time. I am kind of new to Twitter. Like I abilited it for a long time, just until the last couple years. And I think it's one of those platforms where it can be really nice when you're using it well and you're kind of checking on updates but as soon as you start getting into the weeds and you're replying to a reply of a tweet and you're and then you kind of have this moment like, what am I doing? I remember having moments like that on Facebook like 5 or 6 years ago before I quit Facebook, when I would just be like stalking some like random girl from my high school or something.
I've definitely done that.
And I'm like, and then I would have these moments in the middle of the night like, what am I doing? Like
it's like 3. I've been on this rabbit hole for 3 hours. I know everything about this guy.
That was when I deactivated. I was like, okay, I hate this. I literally hate this. Like but it is fun. And
is it fun? Like, do you enjoy engaging, like, and like getting into it with people?
No, I don't.
Okay, I don't either. Because I did this last night, and then like I sat down and like I just realized I felt like so much like tension and anxiety because I think like push comes to shove, I don't like confrontation. And like I don't like getting into it like unnecessarily. So yeah, I don't know. I think I need to rethink my Twitter strategy.
Yeah. You have to rethink your Twitter strategy and like create a more balanced range, right? Because you can't be just going all in on arguing with these people. It's like, who are these people, right?
Yeah.
But yet in the poker community, the people feel for some reason they need to they need to add their take, right? Everyone has a take, everyone has this, and it's just, it's interesting because it's mirroring, just like I said, I was talking about this with a couple of my friends who are big UFC fans, and now it's starting to feel like that, where in the UFC, even though it's an individual sport, people, you know, they love Conor McGregor. They are on Team Conor McGregor. They love Israel Adesanya. They are on Team Israel Adesanya. And when their fighter gets in a beef, they are all in on that guy's beef, you know? And it's fun.
I feel that way for sure. I think I used to just like never get into it, but I can definitely be like a little bit more like defensive and protective of my friends than I am like of myself. Because like I used to play League of Legends. Like I'm tough. Like I would make one mistake 3 minutes into a game, and someone would tell me they're like, I don't know, coming over to like kill my mom.
Or kill yourself.
So it's just like, like none of that bothers me. But then when people are like, when randoms are taking shots at Nick, it's just like, no, dude, like pipe the fuck down. This is not your like arena, not your realm. Like you're not. To like borrow from Roosevelt, like you're not the man in the arena. So like, what are you talking about, dude? Like when you have money on the line and when you're doing like taking on something this publicly, like then talk. Which is why like for what it's worth, I find like someone like Doug like so interesting because like this man has never shied away from controversy and he's also just so like sharp and clever with his takes.
I agree, and I have been a big fan of Doug's for a long time. I was really into Warcraft 3 back in the day, and before I even knew who Doug Polk was, WCG Ryder was someone who I tried to emulate in that game because he was, and you know what? It's interesting because his style in that game mirrored the way he plays poker, where it was a very practiced style. It was, you know what I mean? It was very like, okay, he has a build order, and you know, he hits his marks. He does everything like by a strategy, and you can tell like people that approach games like that are just going to be good at them. You know, he's just a good game player. So I think we've exhausted Airball and Berkey. I've had enough Airball Berkey. Have you?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so it's time for rapid fire questions with Lynne, okay?
Okay.
First answer that comes to your mind, I'm just gonna ask you these. Here we go. Who is your hero?
DGAF.
Honestly.
Kind of, yeah. Like this guy shows up, puts on an amazing game. And to kind of like add to my answer, to explain a little bit, like I've just heard so many great things about him behind the scenes. Like so many people credit him for so much. Where like I think like, I think he's actually just built a lot of these characters.
People don't understand how generous he is. You know, it shows in his play, yes, but it also shows just the way he is as a person. Where
it shows in him investing energy in other people, like away from
it's a cool hero.
The table,
And his name, DGAF, could actually not be farther from the truth. It should be changed to GAF. Because he really does give many fucks about people.
You're
and that's very important.
Blowing up his spot like this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who's
Official
your hero?
name change. Who's my hero?
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant.
Okay, that's a hero.
Kobe Bryant or Tony Gwynn. Either one. Okay.
Cool.
The last song you listened to.
Ashes by Celine Dion.
Nice.
Yeah.
Invisibility or Super Strength?
Wait, I think you should have to answer these questions too. Last song you listened to,
What's the last song I listened to? It was Boris Brejcha, Space Driver, On the Way Here.
Okay.
That's an EDM song. Okay. Invisibility or Super Strength? And I'll answer too.
Invisibility for sure. That sounds amazing.
Especially as a poker player, you could really like.
And then also, it's just like sometimes you just don't want to deal with people. Like, that'd be great.
I think I would take Super Strength. Super Strength is a little bit vague. I'm thinking Superman Strength, and if that's the case, that's what I would take.
I think what I really want to do is be able to fly.
Yeah, me too. You know, I used to be really into trying to control dreams, you know? And
ooh, like lucid dreaming?
Yeah, lucid dreaming, right.
Okay.
And that is like, you know, when people are teaching you how to lucid dream, that's like the first thing where it's like, if you ever understand that you're in a lucid dream, you go up to someone, you say like, I'm gonna fly now, and then you start flying, right? Because it's like, there's something about that where it's like, we just want to fly, man. We want to like get off the ground and just go through the air.
It sounds so free.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Okay, if you could travel back in time, what time period?
Ooh, a time period. Now is a pretty good time to be an outspoken Asian woman. So can I go forward in future instead? Can I go like forward 100 years?
Forward 100 years.
I want to see like what's going on with like artificial intelligence and what they figured out.
Okay, I'm copying your answer. I agree. I would not want to go back in time. Forward only. Okay, do you believe in fate?
No, and I think I do believe in free will too. What about you?
Yeah, same.
Okay.
All right.
Go team.
Last Google search.
Let's Google. Last Google search. I don't know. I just came from work, so probably something work related. I probably just like didn't understand something I was looking at
And what is your work?
So I underwrite business loans. I look at bank statements and decide if this person is a good bet. So these skills transferred over really easily from poker. Also, if you are a business owner and you guys could use some extra funding, please check out Ace Funding Source. Great.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Ace Funding Source.
Yeah, or email me, Lynne at acefundingllc.com.
Okay. What's one
was
thing
your last Google?
Oh, my last Google search? Yeah, that's right. I forgot I'm doing it too. It was definitely something related to the show today. I think, I know what it was. It was Asian wow sound, because for the show today, you know that sound effect that it goes like, it's like wow, that like that Asian whatever, I don't know, I didn't know how to find it.
I'm not doing it if that's what
yeah.
you're for,
No, well, I know, but like I wanted it for the intro. I used it on the intro to Max Payne Monday today. DJF mentioned sashimi, and I'd use that like wow, and I like put her face up.
We should just have sashimi do it. But
Yeah.
that works.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about though, and I didn't know how to find it at first, and I was like, I guess that's kind of what it is, but I found it, so it was good. Okay. Best advice you've ever received?
The first piece of advice that comes to mind, nothing's coming to mind. You first.
It's gonna sound really weird, and it is poker related, but whenever I would see my grandfather, I would ask him, I'd say, give me a pearl of wisdom. Like, come on. Like, every time I'd see him, especially in his later years, and he was a big gambler. And I remember this one time where he looked me in the eyes, like, very sincerely, and he said, don't lose it all on two pair. Don't lose it all on two pair. And I could tell, you can just tell that, like, he's like,
He's lost a lot.
Yeah. And I understood. And he's like, it only beats one pair. It feels like such a good hand, but it's like when you're gonna bet the house, don't do it on two pair. And there's been a couple times in my life where I've been in that spot or something, and I just think of Papa, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it.
I came up with something. So
Okay.
I guess like it's like two-pronged. One, just like believing in the best in people, but then two, I think being a little bit generous with as many people as possible is actually like a massive life hack, where you've just like created goodwill or extended it in like a spot where there otherwise like wasn't any. And I think that's something that makes like both like Billy and Nick
I was just gonna say, Billy. So speaking of Billy, that is something that he practices and preaches, and it's the reason he is so well liked, is because he does those little acts of kindness.
Yeah.
I kept, every time he'd come into the show, I would say, I love your shoes, man, because he always wears those Jordans, right? I love your shoes. Oh man, nice shoes. And
he gets you a pair.
He got me a pair of Jordans one day. He comes and I was like, that's like one of the coolest gifts ever.
Yeah, that's really thoughtful.
Yeah, it was really thoughtful. Okay, earliest childhood memory.
I must have been like 2 or 3 years old, and this is like one of those things where it's like, well, do I actually remember it?
Or you're being told it.
Yeah. But yeah, my grandmother was like feeding me freshly made dumplings that were stuffed with pork, cabbage, and carrots. And I know this because they were, well, one, because I was told, but two, because a few of like my other family members were like sitting next to her, like making them at the same time. So, yeah.
That sounds like such a happy memory.
Yeah.
You know, you're with your family and like you're
I'm being
eating
fed.
dumplings. Yeah. And okay, let's see. Mine, it's definitely Disneyland. I think I was 5 years old. And I also, it's interesting, I also remember, I don't know how old I was, but I remember like going behind the couch at my at my family home one day, and I think what was happening was I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and I was starting to realize that you don't like remember everything forever. And I was just telling myself, like, I'm gonna remember this moment forever. As like a 5 or 6 year old, I was like, and it was nothing. I was just behind the couch. My brother was like right next to me. I'm like, I'm gonna remember this moment forever. And I still remember it. I don't remember. I should have remembered how old I was though.
No, you got the important bit.
Yeah.
It's okay.
All right. Best subject in school.
Math.
Same.
Yeah. Poker players.
Yeah. Advice you'd give your younger self.
Gosh, I mean, the one that everyone would give is to like, just like not care so much what everyone else thinks. I wish I could have told my younger self to just like not stress out so much. Like,
Yeah.
I think she was good at masking it, but she was like anxious and insecure and.
Thank God, like there wasn't all the social media that kids these days have to deal with.
How are you? You look so cute.
Nice to meet you.
Your hair's getting so long.
How are you?
That's good.
Do I need to talk to somebody?
Do you want to talk to us?
Sure.
That'd be my favorite.
Do you like Jess or Jessica? I've asked you this.
There's no.
Let's get a mic for her. Kyle.
Preference. Hey, I'm Jessica.
Kyle,
I
nice to meet
guess
you.
it's Jessica.
Yeah. Come have a seat. And Ryan, I know you're listening right now, so let's get David to come down and give her a mic.
Or maybe her and I can share.
I don't know.
I don't know. Can we share? Is sharing allowed? David's
No.
here.
David's here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were doing rapid fire questions. Yeah, come in closer to Lynne because you'll be on camera. Josh, you can just stay right there. And so, okay, we were asking Jessica, and welcome to the show. We're excited. So first of all, before we even get into this, are you nervous?
I think I should
also
be, and
tall.
I'm not like. I'm maybe too in shock to be nervous or something. I don't know.
I don't think you should be nervous. You're
Yeah.
at a poker table with
Yeah,
like
exactly.
friendly people and.
Yeah. I'm excited.
It's gonna be fun. We can have a little icebreaker right now. Okay, so while she's getting mic'd up, I think the advice I would give my younger self would be to.
I'm gonna want Jessica's answer for this.
Me too.
Yeah.
But my advice would have been to stay in contact with important friends longer, like and better. You know,
Yeah.
especially like before social media was just like so big and important. You know, you really had to like reach out to different people. There's so many people nowadays that I think like, man, what happened to that guy?
Yeah.
What happened to that guy? You know?
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Advice you'd give your younger self, Jessica.
Oh my God.
I feel like we're like really putting her on the spot
Yeah.
right now.
That's a strong first question to walk into.
It is.
For sure.
So Kyle just said he wished he kept in touch, like with more people and more frequently.
And what did you say? What was your answer?
And
We'll give you some.
I wish I wish I could just tell like little Lynne to just like not stress and like be so anxious. Like it's all gonna be
And
okay.
yet that probably would have stressed her out to hear that advice. What do you mean?
She wouldn't have believed it. That's the problem.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think everything has led to a perfect point right now. Like, I don't know what I would change.
Maybe it's the advice you'd give yourself would just be like, go with it, man. Like,
yeah,
it's
keep
all
doing
good.
What you're doing.
Keep doing what you're doing.
It's all about positive interactions with other people. Just be kind and stay away from people with bad energy, and everything's gonna go great.
Yeah.
All right, Lynne, what
You're killing it.
are you afraid of?
Not much, but lately I'm getting a little bit more like afraid of dying. Not like dying, but like when I was young, I thought I was invincible.
Yeah.
Like I just thought driving like 120 on the freeway at 2 a.m. was super
No
standard.
problem.
And like these days, I'm just like, what was I thinking? I'm gonna like get myself killed doing that.
Yeah.
So I'm much more reasonable these days with my driving.
So you're afraid
habits.
of dying.
A little bit more. I take more precautions. I wear my seatbelt. I
That's
like
good.
only exceed the speed limit by maybe 20 instead of like 50. Yeah. What about you? What are you afraid of?
What am I afraid of? Man, I think I'd have to say, it's not like necessarily that I'm afraid of, but you know, like when you see a thing with like a bunch of circles, right? Like,
Trypophobia.
yeah. It's not that I'm afraid of it, but like it's just something that makes me uncomfortable. I see like eyeballs or
It's
like
creepy.
or something.
Yeah.
It just irks me in a weird way. I don't like it.
It makes my skin crawl.
Yeah, if ever there's something like that in the room, I'll be like, can we just take that poster down? Or like, I can't deal with that thing. But
Have you seen the frogs that like the?
oh, they're the worst. Oh, they're the worst. The way they overlap and like they're like all yeah, it's gross.
The little things come out of their back.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. Yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
What about you? What are you afraid of?
I don't know. I'm at the point where I'm like, should I have like had kids so somebody will take care of me when I'm dying? But besides that, you know, not much. Spiders, I guess.
Yeah.
Spiders.
I love spiders. But they kill like the bad biting bug.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
All right, Lynn, are you superstitious?
No. But
Do you
every
believe
now
in
and
Do you
then-
believe in luck though? Like I feel like this is a different question.
Still not really, but every now and then I just have this intense urge to put in money with a hand that is like normally like super unreasonable.
And you go with it?
Not very often.
I don't think that's true. I call yes on that.
Full.
All right. Oh, no, but that's fair. That's fair. All right. What about you? Do you believe in superstition or luck?
I'm not really sure, but I will do some things the same a few times in a row, just in case. You know, I believe in like having routine and like things that are gonna like. I do a lot of the same things every day, but I think maybe that's just a habit kind of thing. Like before I start playing, I do certain things, but
Right. Well, okay, but in a
I'm
way
not
that is,
sure.
but like a lot of times poker players have things that they'll do, right? Like you'll see a poker player who he'll always have the same sandwich when he goes to play poker.
Yeah, that's what I wanna
Or he
know.
wears like a hat or something like that. And it's not necessarily they think it's lucky. It's just the last time they got that sandwich, they had a great session, and so you want to recreate the positive
Yeah, that's
energy,
pretty
right?
yeah,
You want-
it's kind of like that.
But it's not necessarily superstitious, though. It's just it's conditioned
It's a gray
learning. It's like
area.
you remember, your body remembers winning when you're eating that sandwich, when you're wearing that hat. So you do it again. You want to put yourself in that position. You know?
exactly.
I think I took like Adderall every single time I played for a few times, and then I lost like 200 one
So
session.
you're
I'm like,
right.
I'm done.
You're done.
No more Adderall.
Yeah. I think most people that play poker with Adderall and those drugs too, the problem oftentimes isn't the drug, it's taking too much of the drug.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
you ever like see someone like at the table and they're just like so amped up and they're like jittery and it's like, bro, like
You gotta chill out.
you gotta right. And you know, I did my own amount of experimenting before my poker career. I was pursuing a career in professional video gaming, and I would do a lot of different experimenting with different substances, with weed and with, you know, various things. And what I ended up finding, and I feel like this is very true for poker too, is that one of the most important things, it's not just that you're focused, it's that you can remain calm in super big moments, right? And when everything's on the line, you don't want to be like this. You want to be like super, super calm in those incredibly intense moments. And I think that's sometimes what people forget about, because it's easy, you know, when you're grinding, you're playing 8 tables, and but you know, it's different when you're playing in a big live spot. Okay, what have you done, Lynn, that you are most proud of?
Are you ready to go first?
I was gonna see what you said and then probably piggyback on
Yeah.
that.
What have I done that I'm the most proud of? Well, for my parents, it would be me finally being a W-2 employee. They're through the moon.
Are they? Yeah.
Nice.
I think for me, it's like honestly just getting like my mental health to a better place. I think like in the last like year or two, and it wasn't necessarily ever that bad, but after spending like my 3rd day in a row ordering Uber Eats 3 times in a day, I was just like, yeah, like I need to make some changes.
Yeah.
Like I can do better for myself. So through like a combination of therapy and
That's actually really interesting that Uber Eats orders you could absolutely correlate to like poor mental health, right? No, that's true. I've been, absolutely. And it's like, holy shit, like I do 3 in a day. I mean, I've done even more than that. Like
I've done 3 in 3 hours.
Yeah.
And like,
You need stuff sometimes.
right. I'm like, I don't want to do shit. I just want to sit here and have everything come to me. And then you're feeling good. You're making food. You're going shopping. There's no Uber Eats that week, right?
Who needs Uber Eats?
Yeah, who needs Uber Eats?
feel
Unless it's
good.
something weird. There's a good reason for Uber Eats, right? You're going to a place. You're doing a thing. That's really interesting. I bet it's not as novel an idea as I'm making it out to be. It's new to me, so it's just kind of like setting in. But like, absolutely, in today's day, I think you could track certain people's mental health by simply looking at Uber Eats and DoorDash
for
deliveries.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with you.
Whoa, that's so interesting, don't you think though? Like, okay.
What about you? What are you, Miss Pat?
It's funny. It's kind of the opposite what you said. Going from an employee to not having to work anymore. That's been nice. I did that a few years ago, and I have more time to travel. I'm literally just do whatever I want, be my own boss. I'm proud that I made that happen.
Yeah, that's really aspirational.
Yeah.
All right, how about this one? How many unread emails, Lynn?
Like maybe 3, but so in my
Wow.
work inbox, I go through all of them.
Okay.
In my personal inbox, I don't click on like thousands.
Okay, okay. Oh, no. Okay, let's be specific. I am not asking about your work inbox. Okay, that was a cop-out. I am talking about your personal email. So it's
I
thousands.
barely even check my personal email. I figure if like something's really important,
Yeah.
I'll get like a letter in the mail from like the IRS or something, or
Yeah.
like people can call me and.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Jessica.
I'm the same. I've got thousands unread because I'll go in there to reset a password every once in a while, and then I'll check and see, what I've got lingering, clean up a little
There's
bit.
like this thing people talk about called like net or whatever it's called, net zero or mailbox zero or inbox zero. That's what I'm thinking of. Where you keep your inbox at 0 emails at all time.
Who's
Like
the
it's a
time?
fantasy world.
If I take an Adderall, I'll have a day of it.
Yeah.
just like,
But then
unsubscribe,
a couple weeks go by, it's back to how it was. Okay, go-to karaoke song.
Heads Carolina, tails California.
Wait, I love it.
Because I'm from Carolina and I moved to California.
Oh, so you feel very like emotionally connected to the song.
Absolutely, yeah.
So is Cole Swindell the only one that has a version of this, or is there
No,
one from?
there's a lady
Okay.
called Jodie Messina who sings this from the 90s, and he uses her, he samples her song, which is, but I heard that was a good version, so cute.
I'm just gonna copy her answer, but I'm gonna take the Cole Swindell version. He's my favorite artist. I think I've seen him like 3 times live now. So yeah, what about
that
you?
is cool. What would be my go-to karaoke song? It'd be Biggie Hypnotize. I love that song.
Gets the people going.
It gets the people going. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left. Let's talk about today's game really fast because we should do that for the fans. Who are you guys afraid of in tonight's game?
I'm afraid of DJF and Sashimi, because I feel like when I see people doing punchy shit, it brings out my
It brings out your inner punter.
and I just can't help myself but to get it.
There's
in.
nothing more honorable than to punt your stack on a Max Payne Monday. There's nothing, you've heard my commentating, right? It's like, on a Thursday show, some guy punts his stack. It's like, you'll hear
whoa,
the
what
announcer
was he
say, oh,
thinking?
what was he thinking?
Yeah.
But you do it on a Monday, I'm like, what a legend, oh man, this guy, he's the GOAT. I mean, because that's what it's all about. Jessica, what about you?
What was the question?
No, anyone that you're afraid of. I'm sure you've looked at the players.
It's
You've watched them, right?
DK, because I have no idea what he's
That
doing.
is very reasonable.
No idea what he's doing. I've watched so many streams now trying to get some information, and he could be anything. Lynne, absolutely. That was that went without saying, which is why I literally didn't say it. And then
I pay her to say this.
Yeah.
I think maybe Sia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Sia's
mean,
just really good.
all of them. Yeah,
What's the
exactly.
biggest game that you've played before?
None. What? Cash?
Yeah.
Oh,
She's never played poker
I
before.
don't play cash. I play tournaments. So
You're
I
a
mean,
tournament
like a
player.
1-2 at Commerce or something. Yeah.
Okay, so this is going to be a very unique
20x
situation.
shots.
Yeah. Do you worry about thinking about the amounts? Or is it just, do you already have the play money mindset, which I think is really important for a game like this?
Yeah, that's what I
Right?
was thinking. Like, it's all just big blinds, right?
Because it's big lines, and if it's play money to DK.
Yeah.
So if it's not play money to you, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
You know?
I think, I might take a second to like figure out some sizing here and there, but I think I'm ready.
I'm going to warn you about something. We have a lot of tournament players come on the show, and every time they promise me, I'm not going to knit it up, I'm going to play, and then they disappoint me, and I'm in the booth, and my disappointment is palpable.
Okay.
I don't
won't
want to
do
be
that to
disappointed.
you.
Yeah, please.
I will not do that to you.
You gotta play. You have to give to the game. Here's something. DK will say this. If he sees you're just purely knitting it up, he's not going to give you action. DJF's not going to give you action. You have to like prove yourself. You have to lose some EV. You have to go and you have to. You know, I oftentimes say that Max Payne Monday, it's not necessarily about winning the money, it's about winning the hearts of the people, but it's also about winning the hearts of the people at the table, because if you prove to them that you're there to gamble, especially right away,
Okay.
that's how you
Good
have
advice.
that epic night. No, it's true though, you know, it really is. It's like, you're not gonna find a cash game exactly like this anywhere, where the fact that it's on the show, that's Max Payne Monday, is just a super catalyst for action. How many times have you played on the show now?
This is probably like my 4th or 5th.
You belong here. You are like absolutely like the perfect match for our show. I know you've played in bigger games and different games, but the vibe of the show is so complete with you here.
Aw.
Jessica, I look forward to seeing you
Okay.
go for it.
I wanna do it.
What if she ends up being like a wild girl at the table?
Maybe.
You never know,
no.
right? Like you would
Depends
surprise
on how many
everyone.
vodka Red Bulls we get into.
I know.
Oh, we should
Exactly.
get the
I'm
drinks.
so
Can we
ready.
let's get drinks going. Okay, good. They're giving me a
Sorry,
nod. Let's get the alcohol going faster, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm thirsty already.
Yeah.
I wore my blazer to trick people, so.
Right, because you see that you're like, okay, hey, she means business,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So
Girl in a
intimidating.
blazer is not going to be punting it off in
No,
general.
exactly.
Right? It's not a punting uniform.
This is
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
responsible provider.
Responsible
Unchecked
young adult.
ledgers,
So you
exactly.
already got them fooled. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's pregame show. We'll see you next on Max Payne Monday. Peace out.
Raise it up,
Chat Pro, slow roll, never fold.
raise it up,
Chat Pro, slow roll, never fold.
Raise it up. Chat Pro, slow roll, never fold. Slow roll, never fold. Slow roll, never fold.
raise it up. Raise it up.
Chat Pro.